Hello everyone, welcome to Inside Text. I'm Priyanka Lal, and in this video we are going to see the making of Indian Constitution, that how the constitution of the world's largest republic has been created. We all know that the constitution is the very soul of our Indian democracy. So we look into the brief history of how this document has been prepared. Now, what is the constitution and how it is defined? So the constitution term comes from the French, and they themselves have derived it from the Latin word constitutio. Okay, this word was used in reference to the regulations and orders that were passed by that time monarchs or the government authorities. So whenever the government authority or the monarch wanted to constitute some order to the public, okay, the legal document was known as the constitutio, and from here the term constitution has been derived. Now, what is the definition of the constitution? So there was the American lawyer, his name was Patrick Henry. He said that the constitution is not an instrument for the government to restrain its people, but it is the instrument for the people to restrain its government. Okay, so basically, the constitution establishes the governance of that country, and it defines the relationship between the state and its subjects means the people of that country. Okay, so the main motive is to keep a check on the arbitrary power of the government. Now, what are the aspects of the Indian Constitution? So, it took almost 3 years, and to be more specific, it took 2 years, 11 months, and 18 days to complete the draft of the Indian Constitution. Okay, so it is the world's longest constitution, and the original document consisted of 395 articles in 22 parts and 8 schedules. Okay, so it is longest because it comprises on average of 80,000 words, and it is the second largest active constitution in the world. Presently, it has a preamble, 25 parts, and 12 schedules, 5 appendices, 448 articles, and 104 amendments. This 101 is the older data. So, 104th amendment was related to the extension of Lok Sabha seats for SC ST. Okay, this led to the amending of Article 334. Now, what were the sources of our document? So the makers were continuously observing and reading the other constitutions of the countries, what whichever constitution that was present at that time, and they were looking for the features and ideas that may be suitable for our constitution. Okay, so we were making a customized constitution. Uh, Deriving ideas from other constitution as well, and from our experiences. Okay, so from USA, what we borrowed, from USA we borrowed the concept of written constitution. Now, the written constitution doesn't mean that you write on the paper. The written constitution means the codified constitution. Okay, the codified constitution means that you number the articles, like this is article 1, this is article 2, this is article 3, so you codify them. Okay, so this is written constitution, and the concept has been derived from USA. Now, we have derived fundamental rights, the concept of Supreme Court. There is a federal code, and here we have Supreme Court. The preamble of America, from there we derive our preamble. The idea that president will be the supreme commander of our armed forces. Okay, now making vice president as the ex officio chairman of Rajya Sabha, and the independence of judiciary and the power of judicial review, the method of removing judges of Supreme Court and High Court as well. Now, what we have derived from UK? So from UK we have derived the idea of making president as the nominal head. Okay, in UK there is the monarch who is the nominal head, and same we have derived that that made president as the nominal head of our state. Now we derive the parliamentary form of government, obviously. The USA was also the democracy at that time, but we didn't blindly follow up its presidential form of government. We adopted parliamentary form of government from the UK, that was constitutional monarchy. Okay, that was because we were already aware, and we already had the exposure to this kind of government, because UK was ruling since 2 3 centuries, from 2 centuries, and then we thought that this will be well suited for our governance. Okay. Now we adopted the feature of bicameralism. That means that the parliament will be having the upper house, that is Rajya Sabha, and the lower house, that will be Lok Sabha. Okay, the office of speaker in Lok Sabha. Now, which were the other countries? So, from USSR, we derive the idea of fundamental duties and the 5 year plans. From Ireland, we derived the method of conducting the presidential elections. Okay, then we derived the directive principles of state policies from Ireland, and then from Germany, we derived the idea of suspending the fundamental rights during the emergency. And from Australia, we derive the concurrent list, which is present into the seventh schedule of our Indian Constitution. Okay, from South Africa, we derive the amendment procedure of amending the constitution, which is there under Article 368. Now, what were the historical developments before adoption? So we know that making constitution is not a one day process, it was a continuous evolution. And the story started from the 17th century, when the Britishers came into India as traders, and India came into the direct contact with the Western world. Now, after winning the Battle of Buxar in 1764, the East India Company became the political power, and almost till the next mid century, till the 1857 revolt took place, there was the company rule in India. Okay, after the 1857 revolt, the British Crown directly assumes takeovers the responsibility of governing India through the Government of India Act of 1858. Okay, so few acts were passed under the Crown rule and few acts were passed under the Company rule. So, what were the acts which were passed under the Company rule? So, first one was the Regulating Act of 1773. Second one was the Pitt's India Act of 1784. Third one was the Charter Act of 1833. Fourth one was the Charter Act of 1853. And after 1857 revolt, the Crown Rule comes in. And the first act was the act in 1858 itself, where they constituted themselves as the supreme power. And then the second one was the Indian Council Act of 1861, then the Council Act of 1892, and the Government of India Act of 1919, and then 1935. The final one was the India Independence Act of 1947, through which India got the independence. Now, the media was developing during this period, and the journalist of Hindu Patriot, Harish Chandra Mukherjee, wrote an article demanding the formation of the Indian Parliament. So, these developments led to the passing of the Indian Council Act of 1861 and 1892. So, what were these acts? So, in name, you can see that it is Indian Council. So, some reform must be made in Indian Council. So, the Viceroy had the two governing organs. Okay, one was the Executive Council and the other was the Legislative Council. So, in Legislative Council, three Indians got the entry. Okay, and this was significant because this was the first time that Indians' participation was being introduced. Okay, now second changes came into 1892. Okay, when the Indians were given the power to discuss the budget, still they can't vote upon it, but they can recommend some changes, and they can also discuss. Now comes the Indian Council Act of 1909, which is also known as the Morley Minto reforms. Okay, you can see he is Lord Minto. And in 1885, we see that Indian National Congress have been formed. Okay, now since its existence after 10-15 years, the moderates were very active, and they were continuously demanding the reforms in the Indian Council. That was also because there were only three Indians that were there in the Legislative Council through the 1861 Act, and now they wanted that Indian should also be the should also participate into the governance. Okay, so to appease them, to appease the moderate section of the Indian leaders, Britishers brought this act. And this was also the first time that the communal representation comes in, okay, on the basis of religion. So, the first person who entered into the executive council, we have seen that in 1861, Indians got the entry into the Viceroy's legislative council. Now, the second council, executive council, got the entry, and the first person was Satyendra Prasad Sinha. Okay, now you can see that he is Satyendra Prasad Sinha. Now, what was Government of India Act? This act, this 1919 Act is also known as Montagu Chelmsford Reform. So you can see this person is Edwin Montagu, and this person is Lord Chelmsford. Here, diarchy was introduced. Okay, now what was diarchy? Diarchy was introduced in provincial subjects. Like it was a kind of dual government where the subjects, some subjects were being transferred and some subjects were being reserved. Okay, so the transferred subjects were the directly accountable to people. You know, you were answerable for those subjects, and the other subject reserved for the Britishers, which they didn't transfer to Indians. Okay, now this had the preamble, and this was the first time that the Britishers declared that, you know, gradually you will be getting the self-governing institutions. So, since but they do not declared any time frame that okay, till this time you will be getting the self-governing institutions, but they said that okay, ठीक है, gradually you will get. Now next come now in 1920s, the Gandhiji was really active. Okay, so he gave the statement regarding the Swaraj. He said that Swaraj will not be a free gift of British Parliament. It will be a declaration of India's full expression. That it will be expressed through an act of Parliament is true. Swaraj can never be a free gift by one nation to another, but it is a treasure to be purchased with the nation's best blood. It will cease to be a gift when we have clearly paid for it. So this was a kind of sarcasm that Gandhiji wanted to convey to Britishers, that you know, you are not being great, that you are gifting us the independence. We will attain it by our own struggle. Okay, this is our right, and we will attain it. It is not that you are being great, giving us. Okay, and it's not into the grant. We are paying for it by our best people. Okay, who are ready to sacrifice for the nation. So this was a kind of sarcasm that Gandhiji wanted to convey to Britishers. Now, the Indian national movement was on peak in 1920s. The non-cooperation movement was going on. The Indian revolutionaries were very active at that time, and the leaders were continuously demanding the responsible government in India. So, a continuous pressure was being developed on Britishers, and they established the all-white Simon Commission in 1927 to recommend the changes in 1919 Act. And the Secretary of State Lord Birkenhead challenged the Indians that, you prepare the draft of the Indian Constitution. So this led to the drafting of Nehru report, and it was a kind of made in a legal style, and it had 22 chapters and 87 articles. So this was the first time that Indians were formally drafting something, a kind of a constitution, first time. Okay, so that was Nehru report. Now Indian leaders were busy into the what kind of changes they want and everything, and the Britishers came with the Government of India Act of 1935. Now here they were ready to share the powers between the center and the provinces. Okay, that okay, we are dividing the powers and we create the list. Okay, they created the federal list, that this will be the power of the center. The provincial list, that okay, on these subjects the provinces can make law. And then the concurrent list. So these lists were created through this act. Okay. Now diarchy that was created in 1919 in provinces, that was abolished, and it was being introduced in the center. So from provinces it has been shifted to center, the diarchy act center. Now bicameralism has been introduced in 6 out of 11 provinces, and it establishes the federal court, that is the Supreme Court of India. Now comes finally the Indian Independence Act of 1947. This obviously stated that India will be now a sovereign state, and it provided the full sovereignty to the Constituent Assembly, that now you can repeal any earlier act of British Parliament created by the British Parliament for India, and you can create new laws for your country. Now, what was the structure of Constituent Assembly? So, we need to know that it was Emin Roy who first brought up this idea in when the Swaraj Party conference was happening in 1934. Okay, so he demanded to constitute the Constituent Assembly. Now, there was in 1940, there was the August offer that was coming in by Britishers. So there they acknowledged that okay, it must be the responsibility of the Indians to draft their own constitution and not the Britishers. So they acknowledged that thing. Then the Cripps mission came in 1942, and finally, it was the cabinet mission that drafted the Constituent Assembly of India. Okay, so there were three people in cabinet mission. The first one was the Secretary of State. His name was Frederick Pethick Lawrence, and there were two cabinet minister. He was Sir Stafford Cripps, and the other one was the A.V. Alexander. So this led to the creation of Constituent Assembly of India in 1946. Now on 9th December 1946, the Constituent Assembly held the meeting, and they were meeting for first time in the Constitution Hall. This is the Constitution Hall, and at present day it is popularly known as the Central Hall of Parliament. So you can see this is the Constitution Hall where everyone is meeting for the first time, and at present you can see this is the Central House of Parliament. Okay, now on 11th December 1946, Dr. Rajendra Prasad was chosen the first president chairman of the assembly. Before choosing the permanent chairman, Sachidanand Sinha was a temporary chairman of the assembly. Now, the members were elected indirectly. The pattern was based on the present pattern we have for the indirect elections of the Rajya Sabha. On the same pattern, um, the members of the assembly were chosen. And initially there were 389 members, out of which 100 of them went to the other Pakistan side, and only 299 were left in our constituent assembly, amongst which the 229 were from the British provinces, and 17 were the from the nominated from the princely states. Now, on 13 December 1946, Jawaharlal Nehru moved the objective resolution. Now, this objective resolution was based on the Nehru report that was there in 1928, we mentioned earlier. So, this objective resolution was unanimously adopted on 22nd January 1947. And the preamble which we have is based on this objective resolution. Okay. So, also we adopted after 3 years when the draft was completed. We adopted our national anthem on 24th of January 1950. Now, who were the members of our Constituent Assembly? So, you can see he is Rajendra Prasad. He was the chairman, okay, of the Constituent Assembly. She is second one is the Rajkumari Amrit Kaur, B.R. Ambedkar, Pittavi Sitaramaiya, G.V. Mavlankar. G.V. Mavlankar was the first speaker, okay. Now H.N. Kunzru, C. Raja Gopalachari, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, K.M. Munshi, J.B. Kriplani, Panikkar, K.M. Panikkar ji, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, Gopalaswamy Iyengar, Renuka Rai, Vijay Lakshmi Pandit, and many more. Now, out of 299 members, there were 15 women who were also there in the assembly, who were drafting the constitution. Okay, and it's very interesting to know that when Japan was drafting its constitution, there was not a single female member who was responsible in drafting it, but India had 15 female members who were also part of the constituent assembly. Now, finally, on 26th November 1949, the constitution was adopted after three readings, and you can see everyone signed it and it was adopted. Now, from 2015, this 26th November is celebrated as the Constitution Day, and it came into force on 26th January 1950, and this is known as the Republic Day. Okay, so this is it. In end, I would like to quote Sardar Patel. By common endeavor, we can raise the country to the new greatness, while a lack of unity will expose us to the fresh calamities. So, thank you so much for watching it. If you like the lecture, please give it a thumbs up. And if you have any query, if you wanted to recommend something regarding the lecture, you can comment below. And thank you so much. Keep learning and keep watching.